This is the plaintiff, Peter Nagy. He says he was attacked by the defendant with a paint stick and was kicked off the contracting job she hired him for when he was 95% done. The crazy lady called the cops on him. He just wants to be done with her and is suing for the $1,434.81 he's owed. This is the defendant, Gail. She says the guy tried to install a water heater, and after 4 tries of getting it to stop leaking, she kicked him off the job because it was obvious he didn't know what he was doing. Owe him all that money? No way. She's accused of a premature withdrawal.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff claims he was attacked by the defendant when she threw him off the property during a contracting job. But the defendant says the guy wouldn't leave the property when she fired him, and she was only defending herself. It's the case of a premature withdrawal.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Nagy, you are suing Ms. Gale you've done prior work for without incident, but apparently there was lots of incident this time for money that you say she owes you. Tell me what happened that day.
Well, what happened is I brought a hot water heater and then made the connection. I had these PVC connection and I put them on and they didn't seal properly. So I had to go and get another one because there's something wrong with the connection. I put Teflon around and I had put in properly, but it did not work. So then I took it off, went to Lowe's, got another one. The second one didn't work. So I had to do the same thing again. So when I came back, she says, get out. Take your stuff out. I don't want you to see anymore. I says, okay. I took my stuff out. And when I took everything out, I says, you owe me $1,000 before I can leave.
Okay, so what I want to know is what was the agreement that you two had before you went to work there that day? What she had called you and she had asked you that she wanted you to do what? And what was the terms that you two agreed upon? She was going to pay you what?
There was no terms. I usually put in a hot water heater and I have a standard fare of $320 to install us. Now, if that takes 2 hours or takes 9 hours, the price is the same.
Okay, so had you told her I'm going to charge you X, or you two didn't even talk about it?
No, we did not talk about it. She said...
Okay, and what is this about cabinets and cleanup? Tell me about that.
All right, I spent about 3 hours cleaning up all the rubbish in the garage, and I put everything in my minivan and hauled everything away.
What rubbish? Because it's a garage. How big a garage could it be that it could take 3 hours? What was the rubbish?
There was empty paint cans. There's all miscellaneous junk.
Okay. And I asked you about cabinets because you're suing for the cost of cabinets. Tell me what happened there.
I brought brand new cabinets on the job, and she decided she didn't want them, so she pushed them out in the driveway, and she scratched them all up when she did that. And I says, they're not going to take it back. And the policeman says, take it away anyway.
All right, hold on. So what happens when you go to the third hardware store, you get the better piece, you come back, you're ready to install it, and she just throws you off the job? And you tell her you owe me $1,000. And then she says, I'm not paying you anything, and then you call the police.
No, she called the police. She called the police. She wanted me to get out of the garage. And what she did is she had a stick, and she was hitting me with the stick and pushed me out. And then she says, get out. I says, I'm not leaving until I get the $1,000. And then she called the police. So they come.
Okay, Ms. Gale, tell me your side of the story. What happened here?
He was there to install a hot water heater, and that's all. He came at 9 o'clock, and he was to come himself. He brought someone else, and that's the one that worked on it. However, he was there from 9 o'clock starting it till 4:30 in the afternoon. It still was not hooked up. So at 4:30, he leaves for the fifth time. I don't know where he was going or what he was doing, but I don't have a hot water, and the hot water heater is not hooked up. So I decided 7.5 hours is ridiculous to install a hot water heater. So I asked him to please leave. I didn't want him in the house again because I didn't feel
Well,
he
what was
knew
your
what he
game
was
plan, Ms. Gale? Let me ask you, Ms. Gale, you feel that 7.5 hours is too long. I don't. But it's not like you were talking about the guy was trying to put a hot water heater in for days and obviously he didn't know what he was doing. There was a leak in a connection. He was trying to get it tight and right for you. What I don't understand is what's your game plan when you tell him get off my property? That you're going to get a free water heater? Hot water heater? Like what exactly was in your head about how you were going to resolve this? Just throw him off the property and then you get a free hot water heater?
Welcome back to the People's Court. A couple of questions. One, how long does it take to install a water heater? And two, was the defendant premature in kicking the plaintiff off the property? Let's go back into the courtroom.
He was there at 9 o'clock after 7.5 hours, and he brought someone. He was going to install it. He didn't install it. He brought someone there.
So what?
So
what?
And
so what?
him.
How is it that there people are supposed to work there all day long and you're supposed to pay zero? Tell me what world we're living in.
It does not take 7.5 hours, and it was not hooked up. So I called my neighbor.
You wouldn't. Yeah, I know. So right. So because you wouldn't let him finish. The guy was, struggling to get it tight and right so it wouldn't drip, and then you wouldn't even let him finish.
He wasn't struggling. He had it hooked up improperly because if you look at the paperwork.
But he wasn't leaving and saying, I'll come back tomorrow and get it right. He's trying to get it right. And then you go and get a neighbor so that there would be a man with you and, whatever, you wouldn't feel intimidated, whatever the
That's because
deal is
I live alone and I don't trust
I got
him.
it. And then you tell this gentleman, get off my property. I'm not paying you squat for anything. I mean, why would that be fair?
Because it doesn't take 7.5 hours. So I decided
Ms.
to have
Gale,
him leave.
I need you to listen to me. Yeah. You then call a plumber and for $200 get a hookup. And you think you're going to get a $400 hot water heater for $200.
He did not have it hooked up after 7.5 hours. And it does not take 7.5 hours to hook it up.
Ms. Gale,
and he did not know what he was
yourself,
doing. And
I want you to thoughtfully be quiet. Ms. Gale, be quiet and listen to me. You now have a hot water heater that works, right? And all you had to pay was $211. The rest of us, mere mortals, have to buy the hot water heater, which is about $400, 400 and something bucks. Then we got to pay somebody to install it and hook it up. What do you think that costs? Do you think it costs $200? You know it doesn't. So you have this bonanza that you want me to allow to have happen, where all you got to do is pay $200. You have a brand new hot water heater installed, mounted, and hooked up. How is that fair?
It does not take that long, and it wasn't hooked up.
Okay. Tell me what it is that happened when you told him that you wanted him to leave.
He was not leaving. He wanted $1,000. And I said, please leave. It was 7.5 hours. It doesn't take that long. Then he went over to my car. I don't know what he was going to do. That was parked outside. So I walked over there, and as I did, then he grabbed my arm, and I says, get off. Don't touch me. But he did. And then he said, I'm not leaving.
What?
I said, this is my house. Would you please leave?
So tell me then, because you're throwing a guy off the job and you have his hot water heater that you paid zero for. What was your game plan? Just, that's it? You've wasted my time, so I'm not paying you? You get paid zero?
No, it wasn't installed in 7.5 hours.
Okay.
So
now,
I
let me ask you a question. Were there cabinets there, yes or no?
He did have cabinets in the garage. But I did not
What were
ask
cabinets
him
doing
to
in
do
your...
any cabinets.
So when you saw the cabinets, did you say, hey, what are those doing here?
I said, take them back. I don't want them.
What happened with the cabinets?
All right, the cabinets were pushed out of the garage under the pavement, and it was all scratched up. So I had to get rid of them. I couldn't
Okay,
get them back.
well, do you have...
cabinets?
Just a moment. Miss Gale, I don't want you to interrupt. All right, well, if you want to prove to me that you couldn't return them and you didn't get your money back, you're going to need to show me pictures of a scratched up cabinet. Do you have pictures of a scratched up cabinet? Because otherwise, what would normally happen is you'd go return them.
Ma'am, I do not have any pictures. The policeman says, put them in a truck and haul them away. And and they was all scratched on the bottom. When you push them on the concrete floor, and then you put them out there on the cobblestone floor, they were all scratched up on the bottom. So there was
Yeah, but I don't know that she is pushing cabinets. I have to see evidence before I can award you the money for the cabinets. You would have to prove to me that they weren't returnable. And that means you would have to do something that is not asking a lot. Take a picture of all those scratches. That's how you proved it was scratched up. You would have to show me pictures. You don't have it? Okay. Now, my next question to you is, do you have any pictures of the debris and the haul that you're demanding the 90 and the 50 for? Any pictures at all that would prove that you had to load up your truck or that you went to the dump or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
So this lady is saying that she never even asked you for cabinets.
She asked me for a hot water heater and for 2 cabinets over her washer and dryer. And that's exactly what I did.
Okay. I'm ready to rule. You, by the way, you don't have any written contract with her, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you don't have any texts or emails back and forth that would show what amount was agreed upon to be paid for anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I am going to make the following ruling.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
The lady lives in a gated community, drives a BMW convertible, and she does not want to pay me.
Well, just because people have money, it doesn't mean they have to pay you. Just because people have money, it doesn't mean they're in the wrong. I look to see who is in the wrong. I don't look to see if someone can afford to pay you. And when I'm looking at this, she is 100% in the wrong, okay? So whether she drives a BMW or a bicycle, I'm going to order her to pay you. But here is the amount I'm going to order her to pay you. I'm ordering her to pay you for the hot water heater. I'm ordering her to pay you for the couplings or joints or PVC that you had to go out and buy. I am ordering her to pay you your labor costs of $320. And, I kind of got to make a judgment call on the debris issue. I'm ordering $50 on that. I do not believe that you magically brought cabinets to a place where they weren't wanted. I think she's a liar about a lot of the things that she's testifying to. But I can't order her to pay you for cabinets that are in your possession that you just tell me, well, I had to give them away because they were scratched, but you don't prove to me that they're scratched. You would have to prove to me that there was damage completely beyond repair and that you can't return them. And I'm not seeing that proof. So for all I know, you could have returned those cabinets. I don't know. So I am not going to get involved in the cabinets. But as for everything else, you are 100% wrong, Ms. Gale, when you say, well, it took too long. And so therefore I'm not paying for anything. That's ridiculous. It was all on the same day. That is not taking too long. The guy was just trying to make sure that there was no leaks. And if anything, you should be grateful that he keeps spending more and more time to get it tight and right for you. So I am ordering you to pay him $837.53. That's my verdict.
So the plaintiff does prevail. He doesn't get what he was asking, but he gets $837. The defendant, Gail, let me just ask you, Ms. Gail, I know you're not happy about this, but what do you think about the judge decided?
Totally wrong. I did not trust him. I thought he was going to hurt me and leave. It does not take 7.5 hours to do that. It was installed wrong. I had to call the police for him to leave, and I don't think it's correct.
Okay, I'm sorry. You have to pay him for his time and his service. Thank you. Mr. Nagy, let me ask you. She claims, again, you didn't hook it up right. Tell me, let me ask you one more time so we clarify that. Was it properly hooked up by the time you left?
It was perfectly hooked up. So I think she's lying, and she just didn't want to pay me from the get-go. And I'm very disappointed. I didn't get what I wanted.
Okay. Well, the case is over and nobody's happy. How about that? It happens a lot, you know?
Well, everybody's mad at you, Marilyn, so you must have gotten it right.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a reason why plumbers want $300 to $500 to swap out a hot water heater. And remember, it's not just you show up and you install the hot water heater. First, you've got to cut the pipes, you've got to drain the other one. It takes time.
Yeah.
25 years ago, I swapped out our hot water heater because it went bad.
I don't even remember this.
The house in Coconut Grove, it went bad, and it was going to cost us $250, whatever it was, to swap it out.
I remember we don't have it. That I remember. So we didn't have it, but
I got the best handyman I know in the world.
My dad, my dad's my contractor dad.
Right. And he and I did it. And first you put the hose on the bottom, and it might take an hour.
That's why I wasn't remembering it as you switched out a hot water heater.
We both did. It took maybe almost an hour to drain the first one. Then you got to get it out. Then you've got to cut the copper pipes. You've got to solder all those pipes. It takes time, and it can take 5, 6, 7 hours. It could. And any agreement, whether it's verbal or in writing, when you have a contract, if there's not a time specific, it's to be done within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, a day is a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, and it's
not even like the guy said, well, I'll come back tomorrow and fix it. He was there and he was fixing it. It was just crazy. I don't understand it. But, he's all angry about, I wanted 1,000, but yet he's suing for 1,400.
Right.
So, his proof is a little out there, too, in terms of how much he was supposed to get paid for these other things.
Right, but what are the odds that this guy brought a bunch of cabinets there, nice new cabinets, and put them in
her credibility was shot. Oh, yeah, I didn't notice them. You know how that's always happening? People are bringing cabinets into your garage and you don't notice, and you didn't ask for them, but they bring cabinets to your garage. It's raining cabinets in your garage.
Never happened.
Jeez.
So Lonnie wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, if a neighbor has a dead tree on their property and doesn't notify the neighbor next door about that tree and it falls and damages their boat, could they still prevail in court? Well, here's the thing. If there is a dead tree or a tree dying on somebody's property and you know it's dying, here's what you do. You live next door, you send them a note saying, I noticed your tree is not well, and I'm putting you on notice now. Want you to cut it down because it's going to fall on my property. Once you put them on notice, they have an obligation to protect your property, and if they don't do it, you can sue them and recover. We'll see you next time.